Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. The traditionally moderate Canadians have finally had enough of Trudeau's tyranny. Thousands of truckers are driving across the country in the world's longest convoy to the capital to protest the government's irrational policies. Their actions awaken the desire for freedom in the hearts of the people. Will Trudeau's insistence on ignoring public opinion cause a crisis in his administration? Turning to a more authoritarian regime on the other side of the world, the Chinese Communist Party is facing internal and external crises. The U.S. is further tightening its guard against CCP infiltration, while China's elite are fleeing to the West because they're discontent with the communist system. Okay, let's get into it. What started as a protest against the Trudeau government's vaccine mandate for the trucking industry turned into a bigger movement that supports freedom in Canada. Tens of thousands of truckers formed a Freedom Convoy to demand the removal of the vaccination requirement for truckers at the Canadian-U.S. border, as well as other issues related to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The 2022 Freedom Convoy, made up of tens of thousands of trucks, departed Vancouver, British Columbia last Saturday, January 22nd. By Tuesday morning, it had reached Regina, Saskatchewan, and continued east with a brief stop in Winnipeg, Manitoba. By Thursday, it made its way through the Greater Toronto Area before it's set to arrive on Parliament Hill in Ottawa on Saturday for a rally. Benjamin Dichter, spokesman for the Freedom Convoy 2022, said the convoy is 70 kilometers or 44 miles long. The Guinness records show that the previous record for the longest convoy occurred in Egypt in 2020 and was nearly 5 miles long. If the convoy of truckers make it to the Canadian capital intact, it will be almost 9 times larger than the previous record. The Freedom Convoy released a statement saying that many drivers have been vaccinated and that the event is not anti-vaccine, but rather a shared belief that everyone has freedom of choice and cannot be discriminated against or have their freedom curtailed because of personal choice. Thousands of people came out to support the truckers in Toronto on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a very cold day, but I think it's worth fighting for our freedoms, no matter how cold it is. It's for our kids. It's for the future of our children. We need a free country.
The mandates, I think, are awful. I'm not anti-vaccine at all. I'm up to date with all my other vaccines.
I was just going to say, it's important to stand up for everyone's right to refuse, because if you won't stand up for someone else's right, then you'll lose your own right. Maybe you agree with this vaccine, but if you won't support our right to refuse it, you will lose the right to refuse any other vaccine in the future or any other medical treatment that you don't want.
Canada has some of the strictest COVID-19 regulations in the world. Ontario went into lockdown again last month and will reopen its restaurants, gyms, and movie theaters at 50% capacity at the end of January. Last year, vaccination became mandatory in federally regulated workplaces. Quebec's premier announced plans this month to tax residents who fail to get vaccinated for non-medical reasons.
6 months ago, they said 75% vaccinated will reopen. It's 90% vaccinated. It's time to reopen.
Yeah.
Time to reopen Ontario. Right. Enough is enough. We want freedom for ourselves and for our children.
For the world.
And for everybody.
On January 12th, the Canadian Border Service Agency announced that truckers that are unvaccinated and those who've only received one shot returning from the United States would be exempt from the vaccine mandate. But the next day it suddenly changed its story to say that the previous message was sent in error.
People being booted off sports teams, of people losing their jobs, like the thousands of truckers that are here today. It's a single group of people that are being oppressed for no reason because they're posing no risk to anybody else. But they want a scapegoat for this COVID-19.
The Trudeau government's vaccine mandate requires truckers to be fully vaccinated in order to enter and leave the U.S.-Canada border freely. Otherwise, they will be quarantined for 2 weeks and tested each time they cross the border. Truckers argue that the vaccine mandate violates personal freedoms, suppresses livelihoods, and affects the transportation of food and supplies.
Yeah, you figure if you do one load out and then you come back and you got to sit home for 14 days, that's a lot of revenue lost, a lot of revenue.
Because these mandates need to end. It's ruining families, it's ruining small businesses. It's not even about the vaccines. These truckers are fighting for all of Canada's rights.
Canadian stores are experiencing shortages due to various factors, including truck driver shortages, packaging and processing delays, and the Canadian winter. The shortage of truckers is exacerbated by the new federal government vaccine regulations.
Now to come back into Canada, if you're not vaccinated, well, for starters, you got to be quarantined for 14 days. It's going to hit a supply chain pretty hard is what it's going to do.
The Canadian Trucking Association estimates that 85% of the nation's 120,000 truckers who regularly travel to and from Canada and the U.S. have been fully vaccinated. This means that more than 15,000 truckers will be affected by the vaccine mandate. Not only are Canadian truckers affected, but U.S. truckers entering Canada without vaccinations are also being blocked at the border. On January 21st, U.S. Customs also began turning away Canadian drivers who are not vaccinated. Canada-U, which represents a coalition of concerned Canadian citizens, have a memorandum of understanding on their website. It said the purpose of this campaign is to oppose the government's COVID restrictions and coercive measures, all of which are unconstitutional, discriminatory, and divisive.
The mandates are horrible. I think it's the worst thing that Canada's ever done to their people in recent history.
The mandates and stuff are all illegal, against the law. We just need to take our country back. Enough is enough, right?
However, Trudeau is clearly very tough this time and not showing any signs of giving in. He described the participants of the Freedom Convoy as a fringe minority. He said on Wednesday the small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa, who are holding unacceptable views that they are expressing, do not represent the views of Canadians. In fact, thousands of Canadians came out at each city and town stop to support the truckers. While they drive through the country despite the frigid cold, they cheered and offered to feed the truckers.
So we're here to support the trucker convoy that is headed to Ottawa, and we're here to send them off with a lot of support.
The mainstream media tells you it's only about 20% of Canadians supporting this cause, but I think there's maybe 5% that don't support this cause, because we see the reactions across the country of people on every overpass, on the side of the roads. You can see here, there's thousands of people here, and it's incredible. I'm very proud to be Canadian today.
The convoy is not only warmly welcomed and supported by residents along the route, but also continues to grow with local drivers joining in. Some estimate that the Freedom Convoy has gathered over 50,000 trucks from the East and West Coast and even from the United States. Truckers appreciate the public support and feel happy about the power of unity.
Thank you guys so much for the support in this. The unity is unbelievable. It's bringing everybody together instead of the division that our government is creating, and we really love the fact that everybody is uniting so much together on this.
Organizers of the event say the funds raised so far for the convoy have far exceeded their expectations. So far, almost 90,000 people have donated over $6.8 million on GoFundMe. The money will be used to pay for fuel, lodging, and food for the truckers. Anything left over will be donated to those in need. The organizers added that the convoy will move forward with or without the money. For many Canadians, the Freedom Convoy has become a beacon of hope that the excessive COVID-19 blockade, restrictions, and mandates will end in the near future.
I don't care about the cold. My blood is all boiled and fired up for this. I'm proud to be Canadian today, standing beside our truckers. It's time that we make a change. Absolutely. We've had enough. The Canadian people had it.
Many of you may have noticed that we have ads on this channel, FrontPage International. That's actually one of the reasons why we started this second channel, because our main channel, FrontPage, has been demonetized and has received multiple strikes. So it could be suspended at any time. The ad revenue from this channel has done a lot. In the past month, it just reached $400. This is barely enough for a person's groceries with this high inflation environment. I want to be transparent with you, and I want you to know our situation. We have a team of people that put out this program daily, and we have studio lights that we need to keep on. So if you are able to, please consider supporting us by donating to our donor box at donorbox.org/front-page, or subscribe to our member site, frontpageshow.com. Your support here is really helping us to continue to tell you the truth. Okay, let's get back into it. On Thursday, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, voted 4-0 to revoke China Unicom Americas' rights to operate in the United States. China Unicom was authorized to operate in the U.S. about 20 years ago. The FCC is banning the Chinese telecom operator for national security reasons. China Unicom Americas must terminate interstate and international telecommunication services in the U.S. within 60 days. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel said, "There has been mounting evidence, and with it growing concern, that Chinese state-owned carriers pose a real threat to the security of our telecommunication networks." In April of 2020, the FCC issued orders asking several companies to explain how they are independent of the Chinese Communist government and why the FCC should not revoke their licenses to operate in the U.S. These companies, including China Unicom Americas, Pacific Networks, and its wholly owned subsidiary, ComNet. The FCC released a statement on Thursday saying, based on input from executive branch agencies, thorough review of the company's responses in this proceeding, the public record, and the FCC's public interest analysis under the law, the Commission finds that today's actions safeguard the nation's telecommunications infrastructure from potential security threats. The FCC gave 4 reasons why it revoked China Unicom's license. 1. China Unicom Americas is subjected to exploitation, influence, and control by the Chinese government. Second, China Unicom Americas' control by the CCP raises significant national security risks. The company, its parent entities, and the Chinese government can potentially access, store, disrupt, and/or reroute U.S. communications, which in turn allow them to engage in espionage and other harmful activities against the United States. Third, China Unicom Americas' conduct and representations demonstrate a lack of candor, trustworthiness, and reliability that the Commission and other U.S. government agencies require of telecommunication carriers. And finally, the FCC finds that mitigation would not address these significant national security and law enforcement concerns. A Chinese rocket scientist has recently fled China. The Daily Express reported on January 23rd that the British Secret Intelligence Service MI6 helped a Chinese missile scientist defect to the West. The expert worked for the Aviation Industry Corps of China, a company directly controlled by the CCP. He helped develop a mid-range hypersonic boost glide vehicle capable of carrying the DF-17 missile to a range of 2,000 miles. The vehicle can fly continuously in the air and use heat-seeking technology to strike any target on Earth. This case sounds like a movie script. The source said the scientist, who is in his 30s, was not taken seriously by his leaders and did not get a promotion despite his remarkable achievements. He therefore felt that his future was hopeless. He got in touch with the British Intelligence Agency in Hong Kong in late September of last year. He told them that he had detailed information about Chinese high-tech weaponry, but would face a firing squad if he was caught. He asked for asylum for himself and his family. So the MI6 and CIA took action. A 3-person team and 2 intelligence officers and a technical expert was placed in Hong Kong. The rocket scientist and his family traveled via secret route to Hong Kong. In a secure location, he gave MI6 the intelligence he had, along with copies of the technical data. This was followed by a debriefing with the CIA. The scientist and his family were eventually flown to a U.S. Air Force base in Germany, followed by a flight to the United States. According to the report, the intelligence obtained will help the UK and US defend against the CCP's hypersonic missiles. It could take up to 2 years for the CCP to change its system and eliminate the impact of the information exposed. The British Foreign Office is not commenting on the intelligence issue, and there's also no official response from the Chinese government. Under the Chinese communist system, the truly talented have no opportunity or room to shine. The ones being promoted are often those ideologically accepted by the system, that is, those who are willing to be brainwashed without independent thought. But whether in the field of art or science or technology, there's no innovation without free thought. Therefore, true genius is not tolerated by the communist system. Once someone takes the lead, it can be expected that more elites will follow and flee China. Okay, this is our show for today. If you like what you see here on our YouTube show, you will love our membership site. We have in-depth reports and clear and straightforward analysis without any fluff. The website is frontpageshow.com. I hope to see you there. And if you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.